The bubble of normalcy burst in Taiwan, a place that used to be known as the success story while the rest of the world struggled with the spread of COVID-19 for more than a year. But in May this year, an outbreak. Cases surged and Ground Zero was the capital's oldest district, WanHua. Medical support was rushed into streets crammed with people desperate to be screened, and there was a scramble to put precautions in place to stop the spread across the city's borders. And suddenly, everyone's daily life was affected. The restrictions crept into daily routines, everything was put on hold, streets were deserted, and people anxious as for the first time they faced the real onslaught of the pandemic. On May 22nd, the number of confirmed cases reached 170. By the end of the week, it surged to 533. The district of WanHua became the hot zone of the country, an area to be avoided. Even food deliverers and taxis were reluctant to enter its confines.
Many shops closed. People lost their incomes and suffered, and some even lost their lives. The discipline of the people of WanHua, the virus would have spread faster, and Taipei would have had to lock down.
WanHua was one of the first districts to undergo economic development. It has a history spanning about 300 years, during which time it flourished. It was an area where trade prospered, but it was also one which suffered conflict and war when the first Chinese immigrants settled in the early 1700s. Its ancient temples are regarded as strongholds. The district thrived on its diversity. But as time passed and the center of commerce gradually shifted, WanHua fell into decline. It became one of Taipei's poorest districts, but one that is known for its culture and history. Right now, about 7.5% of Taipei's population is classified as low-income households, but the poverty rate is more than double in WanHua at 18.4%. Now, in the face of the global pandemic, the people of WanHua are just trying to stay afloat.
The largest hurdle we had before becoming a quarantine hotel was opposition between the neighborhoods and my co-workers' fear. Everyone's scared. If we get infected, I am responsible for my co-workers and their families. And I realized that Taiwan lacks quarantine hotels, so I thought if we have the capacity, why not do it? That decision saved us, as our hotel is still operating. I would have had to shut down if I didn't make it a quarantine hotel.
Despite the initial opposition, it's a strong community, and the residents do their best to support each other.
I was still receiving a lot of cases from WanHua until yesterday. The one in my community was a husband with no part-time job. His wife's wage was halved. She was desperately trying to get work. So our food packages really help. We supply people with what they need at home. It's important that you tell everyone that everybody is trying. Stop hiding. Let us put in effort during the pandemic. So it has been 1 month since our reopening, and we have donated over 1,000 servings of food.
It's just like what we Taiwanese say, the neighbors can be even closer than your family. If people face hardships, whether it's health-related, financial, or they simply don't have a roof over their heads, charities can provide the appropriate timely support. I believe that they have developed a family-like relationship, one that outsiders find it hard to experience.
The community sees itself as a whole, and that includes even the most socially vulnerable residents. The pandemic had a huge impact on the homeless, especially when it came to accessing clean water, shelter, and food. WanHua is the first community in Taiwan to block streets and provide 4 fast screening stations in a high-risk zone. More than 20,000 people were tested in 2 weeks. The crisis was quickly brought under control. New cases went down to single digits within a month. Monitoring self-health conditions by wearing a mask, sterilizing, and screening has become a social responsibility for everyone.
Even so, the people are still here. The culture still exists. Through this pandemic, local organizations have become closer and trust in one another is stronger.
The essence of WanHua's history is passed on through each hardship the residents face. Resilience is innate in the people who continue to thrive, taking life one day at a time.